hi everyone. For some context, this is a live stream. We just premiered Ian Keough's episode on the podcast, and we're gonna get started really soon. So the episode is actually just finishing up. So I have Ian here with me. This episode still not finished, so I can still hear that it's still going. But yeah, for context, we're gonna chat about an episode that was recorded in September 2022. So it's been a while, and yeah, we'll be with you in a second. All right. So can you hear me?
I know, no.
Okay. Yeah. So I see there's two people there. So I put this on YouTube. So hopefully there's some of the people who were on the chat get redirected to this stream. I don't really know how that works. So if it doesn't, the video will stay on YouTube. So yeah, so let's jump right in. Thanks a lot, first of all, for that interview. I know, I have to excuse myself. It's taken me many months to edit the thing, but I think we're working with Andrea now, with a collaborator, so she's actually editing these interviews. I think she did a pretty good job.
Oh, she did a fantastic job. I mean, you always do an awesome job, Nono. And I mean, people who do podcasts, I don't even know. You have all the equipment. I mean, it takes a long time to edit these things, you know. But we are still waiting for our trip to Spain, as we promised in that
Yeah.
episode. I gotta come to Spain and we can have an interview there over a bottle of wine.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I'm trying to see like if I get the some of the people to join the call here before we get started. It's a bit hard because we were just for context, we were just watching. Ian and I were just watching the episode and chatting with people live. So I first want to take a chance to thank everyone for joining. I mean, it's been pretty good. Like we didn't know who was gonna show up, so all the questions and all the commentary was super good. Yeah, I'll take you on that whenever you can visit here. I kind of track you down. Both times that we've recorded were in person, but the last time we managed to do it on video, as we're doing today. But we're now remote. So yeah, maybe what I would love to hear from you is like what has changed, and what do you think about listening to that episode?
It was really interesting to hear myself talk about some of this stuff and speculate what things were going to be like. So we're bigger now. I think we said I said at the time we were 9 or 10 people, and I think we're about 20 people now. We might be 21 people totally. Here within a month. So the number of people and the types of roles that people are doing, turning Hypar into a serious business, have increased, which is fantastic. And we actually just had an opportunity to take the entire team to Whistler in British Columbia for an offsite. So in there, when I said like we didn't have a chance to get together because it was COVID and everything else, we actually have opportunities now to bring the whole team together. That's fantastic. Most of my kind of thinking about things like ML haven't really changed. I put a little link in the chat there in the YouTube about some of the stuff that we're doing, which we've sort of branded text to BIM. And it's still very much the same line of thinking, how we're going to use these machine learning models, especially the large language models, ChatGPT and others, to act as the kind of new interface for sort of automation tools like Hypar. So I think there's just going to be the next few years of like experimentation in our industry around that kind of stuff is going to be incredible. And then, of course, like we also have physical office space now. We thought we joked about you coming and seeing me when we were in my kitchen and when I was working out of my garage. We have our first little office space both here and one outside of Boston with a couple people in them. But I had said in that podcast also I was trying to like develop these places where more people were aggregated, and I have not been successful in doing that yet. We're in I think 6 different states in the United States and like 3 different countries now. So I haven't been successful in actually bringing the team together very much, but we have a fantastic remote culture. So that's
Yeah,
working
no,
out.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been working remotely for the past 5 years, I think, and it's been good. But I think, from time to time you do need to have on sites and actually meet the team in person to get to know each other a bit. Can I ask you a bit about the experiment you did with GPT? I mean, I saw the viral videos. I want to hear if there's anything behind the scenes. What did you actually do? Was it just off the shelf, or you trained something?
It was pretty much off the shelf, and actually the first version of that experiment was Andrew Human on the weekend. Andrew likes to spend Saturdays and Sundays and sometimes both, just hacking on Hypar. So we love to see our demo channel in Slack light up with examples of stuff that Andrew has been working on. We talk about this stuff all the time, and then he'll just go off and like try and experiment. And one of the things that I've talked about with you and others in the past on social media is the sort of structured nature of Hypar. Hypar functions and elements and models on Hypar are structured in such a way that you can use these large language models to map natural language down to property values that get fed into the functions to do the stuff on Hypar. So when we show an example like the one that we have floating around on LinkedIn of like a multi-family building where you're saying, I want a podium that is this many levels tall and I want a tower on top of that is H-shaped, like H-shaped, the concept of H-shaped gets mapped down to an input in Hypar. And it's people saw it and thought, and they asked us all kinds of questions like, did you train Hypar on millions of models that you got from someplace? And no, what we said is, and this is the beauty part about this implementation, is that a lot of people think we're going to use all this historical data from our industry. We've had BIM for 20 years. We have all these BIM. We're going to feed those into a model, and the model is going to do magic stuff for us. The problem is that BIM is usually not, although it's structured, if it's all sort of Revit stuff, just simple problems around normalization. Like you called all of the rooms different things from one model to the next model. So you don't have these really well normalized data sets that we can use to train MLs. Although there's amazing stuff going on. I just saw a demo from Proving Ground yesterday that was somewhere on LinkedIn. It was kind of a cool sketch-based tool that was trained on ML from some. So there's going to be stuff like that. But our use case is filling that hole that we talked about in the conversation that you just played, which is visual programming languages and what's the next thing? Visual programming languages opened up computation to a wider audience, but natural language opens up computation to an even wider audience. And so if you can get to a place where we can just specify in plain text what it is that we're looking for, and nobody ever has to build a visual programming language or write any code, that is an optimal solution. And so we're working on this internally right now. And the challenge for us as a platform provider is to make that available to everybody who develops anything on the platform, not make it like some special hidden secret or some demo-y kind of thing, but to make it a platform feature. So if you write a function that does some kind of building generation that we know nothing about, that the way that you would naturally talk about that thing can be encoded and mapped to properties on the function. In other words, you can build your own sort of very narrow domain specific language using those tools. So we're definitely investing in that work. And the only shame is that now it's everybody is talking about AI. Are you doing AI? Am I doing AI? Are we doing AI? Who's doing AI? Am I missing out on doing AI? And the thing that I had to remind a group that I spoke to just a couple of weeks ago about this very question is that there's no easy way. Everybody thinks that AI is somehow going to, in AEC, is going to be the easy path. We're going to jump around all this stuff that we've been working on and worrying about for years. The reason it works so well on Hypar is because we spent 5 years building the platform that we could put that thing on top of. There's no easy path through. There's a lot of stuff out there right now. Zaha's office is posting a bunch of pictures of Mid-Journey generated images of buildings. Fantastic and totally useless. not totally useless. I mean, like it's interesting and it's probably good for conceptual stuff, and especially for an office like Zaha's office. But what can you do with that image once it's generated? You got to go build the models. You still got to deliver drawings. You still got to do all the building stuff, and you got to make the thing constructible. So I just, I think there's a lot of hype right now, and we're trying to like kind of like go through the hype in the way that we always do, which is to like walk softly and carry a big stick, as they say. When we come out with solutions, they will be solutions that will be platform-wide available.
Yeah. What else has changed? I mean, I don't want to take too much of your time, but what else from what you heard today has changed?
The thing we didn't talk about too much in that interview was the industry, like what's happening right now with all the other startups. There's tons and tons of startups in the space. It seems like every week there's a half dozen new startups who are all solving some version of the problem. And even when we talked, in September of 2022, I think was when we had that conversation, there's probably 5 or 6 more startups now who are in the conceptual design end of like, we're going to build the next tool that replaces Revit or whatever. And everybody is saying this. So we have to like, we're looking at all of these companies and we're saying, are they doing something interesting, novel? Are they competitors? Are they somebody that we could collaborate with? I don't know. There's just so many out there. So it seems like a moment in our industry is kind of happening. People are getting investment, and people really are interested in a change and excited about what this could mean in our industry. But I do think there's going to be several years here of shaking out, who's making the tools that people are going to start to rely on in their practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I kind of still how would somebody who doesn't understand like coding and stuff start on Hypar? Because I haven't used it as a customer yet. I see it. I've seen the part that you can write C# code, the part that you can create functions. So how is this more thought right now for developers inside of offices and specialized people, or how does the person who doesn't know how to code go on?
So one of the things that we did, because obviously being code first is a challenge in that way. One of the things that we have invested in quite heavily over the last 6 months is a bunch of tooling on Hypar that is just generally available for anybody to design with, and specifically around things like space planning. So there is a future, and there's a very near future in which people are coming to Hypar and just using stuff that's frameworks on Hypar that work out of the box. The ability to do space planning, things like commercial office space, healthcare planning, and to bring your own content from places where you've created that content before, like Revit. And then also to sort of interoperate with those tools, bring in context from Revit, push stuff back to Revit. So you can do that today. You can go to hypar.io, you could sign up and start doing space planning today. And we're opportunistically identifying segments that are really, really, or sectors that are really, really rich targets for design automation, and for which we can build frameworks on the platform that give everybody a huge lever. So space planning is one of those things. Like you can boil space planning down into a set of systems that work really, really well across a bunch of space planning domains. And then that naturally feeds really well into the other kinds of stuff that we've been building on the platform around things like building structures and mechanical systems and stuff like that. So I think the way we usually describe this is the platform will get thicker and thicker over time, and what you have to add as your own sort of custom automation will get smaller and smaller. But if you're outside of that use case right now and you're coming to the platform with some other thing that we don't know anything about, you gotta do code. And so for that, we're investing in just building the platform to make it easier and easier and easier for people to do that as well.
So at some point, do you think at some point you could build like an easier user experience on top of the same platform? Just basically using Hypar as a backend, right?
Using some of the same stuff that I just talked about with domain-specific languages and stuff, I think we're going to have full-on modeling kind of environment for you to create your own design automation sort of frameworks that you can use and share on Hypar without writing any code in the future.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to take more of your time. I think this is being enough. You just gave me like an hour and a half of your day. So I'll let you go back and work. For those of you who watch this on YouTube, we have this was recorded right after the release or the premiere of the episode that we recorded, so you can go watch the entire episode on YouTube. I'll ask you, Ian, that you stay for like 10 or 20 seconds after I stop recording, so everything uploads to the cloud. And yeah, thanks for some of you who've been with us for the premiere, that have jumped to Riverside and all that stuff. And I have to say, the work that you guys are doing is awesome. It seems like you're growing really fast, so that's a good sign. It means that your customers like what you're doing. And yeah, I mean, looking forward to meeting in person sometime again.
Yeah, I much appreciate it, Nono. And like I said, next time we're going to have to do this in Spain. And thanks
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
who joined us on YouTube and here for all the great questions.
awesome. Yep, so let's hold. I'll just say bye to the audience, and I'll chat with you for a second. All right, this was it today. It's Nono Martinez Alonso. We had Ian Keough with us today. Remember that you can go and read a detailed episode notes when they're ready, because they're not ready yet, at gettingsimple.com, and that you can follow all the podcasts and my channel. Bye everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.